Good on you. From crushing spiders to crushing dreams. Is that really the segue we're going to go with? You know, we hear this all the time. The government's so stupid. The free market should run the country. Ayn Rand's the best author ever. I can't wait till my senior year. You know. But did you know the public sector has no monopoly on ruining everything?
Between 2009 and 2010, foreclosure proceedings that were wrongful or in some way contained bank error commenced against nearly 4 million homeowners.
So it's 4 million. It's only 2 million homes a year. And this is the private sector doing this. I'm sure it's easy for them to track the paperwork of the mortgages and correct the errors.
It used to be that the paperwork tracking mortgages was easy to find, filed at a local recorder's office.
And remains so today. That is your story, is it not? Since that system was working and people were very happy with it.
But more than a decade ago, big mortgage lenders set up their own alternative system. It's called MIRS, the Mortgage Electronic Registration System.
You're kidding me. So these 4 million foreclosure problems, this was no accident. This was MIRS. All right. So it was MIRS. How does MIRS work?
Instead of filing papers at a local courthouse, mortgage changes are simply registered inside the MIRS computer. But with no official paper trail, lenders are now scrambling to produce documents to prove they have the right to foreclose.
Yes, it turned out the big banks didn't enjoy filling out paperwork. For every single mortgage, they wanted to reassign or securitize. So they formed a consortium, mortgage dumpster, if you will, that would allow them these mortgages to trade electronically within this corporation they were all shareholders of. Think of it as a key party. But instead of your wife, they lose track of the deed to your house. But fear not. Fear not. Fear not, my spider-phobic friends. I'm sure there's a better name for that I don't know. Arachnophobia, right? Fear not. This type of inevitable free market overreach is why the government must maintain its watchdog status. Go get 'em, boys.
The Office of Controller of Currency, the OCC.
Oh, yeah! You down with OCC? Yeah! The Office of the Controller of the Currency? Because they sprung into action to determine which homes were being foreclosed upon inappropriately.
The independent foreclosure review was essentially having banks hire independent consultants who are on bank payrolls to look at the bank's own records.
We are alone.
The whole thing was so badly conceived from the beginning, again, that the OCC finally said, we give up.
Abandoned for being too complicated and for helping almost no one.
Which is coincidentally the OCC's motto. So ultimately, like, you down with OCC? So ultimately, like most incredibly complicated and extremely destructive financial scandals, the perpetrators went to jail. Went to jail! I am a card! I am a riot! They pulled trillions out of the economy and they went to jail. What I meant to say is they went to the Caribbean. They went to the Caribbean after paying an inadequate and completely arbitrary settlement of $9 billion. No, seriously. They admitted it was completely arbitrary.
To estimate the number would have required, with more precision, would have required additional delay in providing.
But it doesn't mean you pick a number out of the air.
Oh, really? What's wrong, Senator? Don't you like magic? I'm sorry, that actually was supposed to be a number. And I have terrible allergies, so put those down there. But you know what? 9 billion was the perfect number because it's a big enough number to impress consumers, but a small enough number to teach the banks no lesson whatsoever. And it's incredibly dividable enough to be meaningless.
Our viewers are looking at a full screen right here about what victims are going to get.
Not much.
60%, as you said, will get $300.
Woo! $300, which is good if the home you lost is on the 16th hole of a miniature golf course. But with all that, with everything that happened, with free market incompetence coupled by government irregulation, they top it all off with one final kick to the homeowner's nuts.
Government-issued checks to homeowners are bouncing.
Ah! So that's why this guy's picture is up behind the register at the bodega. We'll be right back.
Yep. You're on here. Okay. Oh, here we go. Go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for joining us on
Oh, there we go. Go ahead now.
Hello. Thank you for joining us on MIRS TV, where we strive to educate, inform, question issues regarding foreclosures, bankings, and the economy. My name is Janet Reiner, and today is Thursday, May 9th, and my guest today is Jon Crispala, who's the CEO of Architectural Wealth. Now, Jon is a very interesting person, and he is the financial strategy. He actually has been in the financial strategy business for over 10 years, and he loves to provide education regarding financial management and strategic planning. He loves helping people in need, and he has contributed positively into the lives of many who have been facing financial hardships. He also has brought more opportunities to gain higher profits to individuals who seek for better alternative investments. You're a man on a mission, and you're here to deliver fresh and rather new approach towards personal finance. You are the CEO of Architectural Wealth, which is a new movement providing modern day financial literacy? How do you pronounce it? Literacy. My tongue is not working today. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So, Jon, I was first introduced to you. You had a seminar about a month ago. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Which was it was a very good seminar too. And if anybody ever has an opportunity to go see one of his seminars, you really need to go. He had some very exciting guests. He had some very informative information, and it's an opportunity for you to gain information free. And you had a panel of experts that actually came and talked, didn't you?
That's right.
Yeah, and I'll never forget that because I learned something new then, and so I was very pleased in going.
Well, that's our goal, is to deliver fresh new ideas and to educate them.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show, is because you do have fresh ideas, you do have information from a whole variety of experts, and I wanted to make sure that the homeowners are aware that you'd have this business out here that they'll be able to gain information from you.
Sure.
Right? And so one of the things that I wanted to start from the beginning, and that is, what made you decide to even begin this path? Now, there must have been an incident where you decided to go into this. Can you sort of take us on the journey as to how you got into this?
Sure. Well, I came in the U.S. in 1991, thanks through my dad. And one of the things that I realized, or one of the things that I was exposed to when I was growing up, was how hard he was working. And the thing was, back in 2001, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And at the time of diagnosis, it had already spread way too far and took his life 6 months later. So with that, we thought that they had, he had some financial backings in terms of like insurance and things to cover the liabilities, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. And so instead of being able to get passed on with something, we came out with nothing.
Debt.
And
You had a lot of debt.
A lot of debt.
Yeah.
Right? So I picked up the slack from him, and I was in my late teens, and I had to mature right away.
Wow, that's really young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went from 15 to 25 like overnight.
Overnight. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. So through that experience, I was looking for opportunities. I was very hungry. I was looking for different ways of how you can make money, and it was tough. And my brother at the time also was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and so I had a lot on my weight. And so thank goodness I had an individual, a good friend of mine. She was in the financial industry, and took me under her wing. And that's pretty much how I started my career, because I didn't ever want my future generations to go through what I had to go through.
Right.
And so I wanted to put an end to that.
Isn't it amazing how the universe puts people into your life when you need it the most?
That's right.
And it's interesting that that's what happened to you. Yeah. So when that situation happened and the person came into your life and they put you on this path to where you are right now, was there a specific incident in which where you decided that you wanted to start this company and you wanted to veer out on your own and just be able to start this company and make it your life's mission to help people?
Sure. Well, okay, so I got started in the financial service industry, and I started with the firm, worked there for about 3-4 years.
Okay.
And, you know, it was a good ground floor for me, learned the basics, until I ran into an individual who became my coach, and by the name of Doug Andrews.
Doug what? Who?
Doug Andrews.
Andrews,
yes. Okay. And he was a best-selling author, wrote several books, and I took some of his ideas and took some mentorship from him. And I started to apply that in my practice.
How long were you mentored by him?
I was mentored by him. It started back in 2007. So I started, I started the industry in 2004. And I ran into this individual who became my mentor and coach in 2007. So I took some courses, flew down to Utah, which is where he's based at, and I started to apply it right away. And
did you apply to yourself first?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you gotta
be your own test person. I know.
It's kind of hard to not do that.
Yeah.
And,
And how did that go?
It went very well. And
so you gained your own personal wealth and your own personal experience. Okay.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of confidence doing what I was doing.
And successes, you had a lot of successes.
Right. And so my firm kind of caught on to it at that time. And because a lot of the education that he taught me was very counterintuitive, you know, towards popular beliefs when it comes to the topic of finances. And,
do you find that's true in majority of people? They've been taught one thing, but the reality is they should be doing something else. It's almost like what the successful people are doing things that are counterintuitive what the norm is.
Yes. And so I always run my business, my practice on the basis of, you know, what if what you were always taught to be true turned out not to be so?
Right.
How soon would you like to know?
Right. Warren Buffett says the same thing.
Yes.
Warren Buffett says you should be doing the opposite of what other people are doing.
What everybody else is doing.
And so you're absolutely true.
Very
you're
true.
absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they didn't like what I was doing. And they told me it's either you keep in compliance or you're gone. And so I made a big decision at that point. And I was doing pretty okay at that time. But I wanted to do what was right for my clients, because I'm a strong believer of doing the right thing.
Right.
And so I made a big move. I quit and I became independent. And then I started my business last quarter of 2012. So I was independent for about 4 years. And I always wanted to, you know, create a company with an image, but didn't really click quite well up until this recent several months.
Yeah, because I think you really started taking off here in the last couple of months.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think there's been a tremendous amount of growth, mainly because, you know, it's a funny thing. I was once told that if you want people to like you, people will like you, but if they trust you, they'll do business with you.
That's right.
Okay, it's totally different than people liking you versus trusting you. And the fact is, for you to have this growth, that means people must trust you.
Yeah, I always go with the saying, relationship first before business.
That's right, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. So let me ask you this: because of the fact that people are being taught opposite of what they're supposed to do, What are some of the things that you are finding that people are being taught that they should be doing the opposite of? I mean, is that something that you could, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything.
Oh, no. No, not at all. I mean, we were all taught to do, the traditional, put money in 401k and pay off your home. And what I've been finding, with the economy going through its downturn, people are more aware that they need to find something that's safe and that don't have to lose a significant amount if there is such another downturn. I mean, God forbid that would happen again, but what if? So you need to be prepared.
Right.
And so what I've been finding is it's so much easier for us now to communicate our message because of the fact that they went through that financial crisis and now they're looking for other alternatives on how they can put their assets in a safe place.
So you're also dealing with people who are in foreclosures and losing their homes, and they're looking for, obviously, if they're going through foreclosure, their home will no longer be the primary investment, and that they're looking for other alternative means to invest just because they're losing their homes.
Right.
Is that right? So if you're not able to invest in your home at the time because your house is losing value, what do you recommend homeowners to do if they're not able to invest in their own home? I mean, what is the, well, let me ask you this. What are your strategies? Because your name is Wealth Strategies. I know that, and it's a very good name because because to gain wealth you really have to have a strategy.
That's right.
Okay, and people assume that when they go to someone like you, you're going to make them $1 million overnight. That's not true.
No, absolutely not.
For real true growth, and I learned this from you, by the way. For real true growth, it's not going from 1 to 100. It's going from 1 to 10 to 20 to 50 to 60 to 100, and it's over a period of time that it becomes growth. Is that right? Okay. So when it comes to strategies, what do you recommend people to sort of remember? What are the strategies that people have to remember to really gain wealth?
Well, that's kind of a tough question to answer because it's such a broad topic.
Right.
And so the way we deal with our clients is basically based on their set of circumstance. And everybody's situation is always different.
Right.
But I always go with the general rule. If you would like to build wealth conservatively, is you based it on the laser test, which means it would have to be liquid, safety of principal, and being able to earn a rate of return.
Right, okay.
And that's what I would feel, in my own opinion, makes a prudent investment.
Okay, now is that something that okay, so when you have a customer come in and you talk with them on a one-to-one, is that something that you discuss on a one-to-one at your first meeting, or how does the meeting go? I mean, what do you guys talk about? Well, I mean, what are issues that you look at on behalf of for the investor?
Well, the first thing that we do, of course, is we get to know them. We find out what their objectives are, what they're trying to accomplish. It almost gets to the point where it gets way too personal, and but we want to understand their perspective, so that way we can take them from where they are towards to where they want to be. Okay. And that's always a general rule for us: is get to know your client. Right.
So, with your company, what is it that do you have a specific products that you encourage people to go into? Give me an overall strategy of your company on what you deal with investors.
Well, I can give you a scenario.
Okay, yeah.
If that would help. Yeah. And so I have this this individual. She was forced into retirement, another word for laid off. Okay. And she only had about $80,000 in her pension plan. And she will no longer have any income after that. And so I asked her what her plan was. Okay. And her plan was just to withdraw everything because she was below 59.5, pay the taxes and penalty, and put it in a savings account, and then we'll just withdraw to substitute the loss of income and pay off her debt. So when I calculated the numbers, she would be out of dough within 1.5 years.
What?
If she was to continue that path, if she wasn't able to get a job.
Right.
Right. And so what we were able to do based on what she was trying to accomplish, because she not only needed to find some coverage for the loss of income, but she also wanted to start her own nonprofit ministry.
Okay.
And so I had to put that in the equation. So what we did as a proposal was we were able to get her an investment which was a real estate property, cash flow, and we rolled that over into a self-directed 401k, which purchased a property for $35,000, and it's cash flowing $650 per month.
Wow.
Right? And we took the rest of the remaining balance, we took it into distribution, paid the taxes and the penalty, but we turned around and we donated it to her nonprofit ministry, which created a deduction. Right? So you would pay taxes here, but you deducted it over here, so it kind of offsets the main tax implication.
Right.
And so there she was able to draw $2,000 per month.
Able to withdraw $2,000?
Well, not withdraw. Take the she's the director of the nonprofit, so therefore she can take income out.
Oh, okay. I'm sure you have a lot of successes like this, don't you?
Yeah. Well, like I said, every case is different.
Yeah, but isn't it amazing how some of these? I would love to hear more of your successes.
Sure.
And one of the challenges that I have, one of the challenges that I have dealing with people who are strategists like this is that a lot of times they don't listen to what the investor wants. I get the impression that you listen, and that
you have to.
Yeah, but it's not always done that way. They don't always necessarily listen. But that
gotta have the right intent.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the intent. Well, you know, the pathway to hell isn't paved with intention, isn't it? I don't know, but you actually walk the walk. You don't just talk the talk. You actually walk the walk, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show, is because of the fact that it's rare to find somebody who actually walks the walk.
Well, thank you.
Okay, and so I wanted to find out from you what do you want investors to be aware of? What are misconceptions that they need to be aware of, and what should they be? What should they, when they go into investing, what do they need to be cognizant of? Do you understand?
Well, one of the biggest misconception that I'll share with you is we all have this idea of paying off your home is the best thing you can ever do.
Right.
Well, the misconception to that is you will be in a higher tax bracket than you were ever been in, because of the fact that it's one of the biggest tax deductions that Americans have remaining, which is the ability to deduct the mortgage interest on that. And the second misconception is the equity that's sitting inside of your home earns a 0 rate of return.
That's true.
So most people think that, like, yeah, we pay the sucker off and everything is handy dandy, but what happens if you had $1 million home that has no mortgage, and next year it declined to $500,000? How much money did you lose? You just lost $500,000 worth of cash.
Right.
But had you employed that equity into a safe vehicle where it can earn an interest with the safety principle, then you can create a whole new life and be able to leverage that. And you can accomplish it mainly without having to fork out additional money out of your existing budget.
Well, how would a person do something like that, especially if they wouldn't be able to do that if they're in foreclosure, would they?
No, they wouldn't. And I mean, of course, for somebody that's in foreclosure, it would be a whole different
It's a different
tactic.
story. Yeah.
And,
but they could do that even if they're in foreclosure. If they have a job, they could still take part of the earned income that they have and set that aside. Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have people that do that?
Oh, yeah. It's just in a matter of repositioning things. And that's kind of like our bottom line goal, is to be able to accomplish something without having them to cost anything out of pocket.
Right, right. What do you recommend for homeowners to do, or recommend for investors to do? What's the first step that they should do?
In terms of?
Well, besides contacting you, okay? Because we have a lot of homeowners that are going into foreclosure, okay? But because they're going into foreclosure, that doesn't mean that they have to stop investing. And they need to be aware that even if you've lost your home, even if you've lost your investment, even if you've lost everything, it's an opportunity to start fresh, right? And part of starting fresh is starting new. So what do you recommend if they have absolutely if they're in that position? What do you recommend for them to do?
Well, the first thing is they need to find out what their rights are, and that's one of the biggest things that I've learned from you is be able to find out what your foreclosure defense is. And I mean, there's so many ways in how you can avoid foreclosure, and you can go through a service such as yours, or you can go through what's some of the things that most people do? They go through short sales, or they do loan modifications.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
or fight, litigate.
Yeah, or litigate it.
Yeah.
Right. And
but when they start off, I mean, after you've gone all that, then you're sort of at ground zero again. And obviously, they can't invest back into real estate because the credit's shot. They've lost their home. You know, there's a whole variety of different issues. So when they're ground zero, and they come to you and they say, like, say for instance me, I have nothing. Okay, I come to you and say, you know, John, I need to start thinking about retirement. I need to start thinking about my future. I need to start thinking about my children's future. What do I do? Well, how would I start investing?
Well, you can't go from A to Z instantly overnight, right? So you got to start from ground zero. So you got to go back to the basics, which is number one, rebuilding back your credit. And be able to clean up some of the things that the blemishes that you have in your report, and be able to create new trade lines that will establish good reporting.
Okay, so let me ask you this: in one of the as a last comment, what would you recommend? What are things that you would like to, as a last comment for our viewers, what do you recommend for people to do? What are things that you would recommend for people to remember about investing?
Well,
besides coming to you.
Besides coming to me, I mean, there's an abundance of information that's out there. And the only thing that I could suggest is to go out there and seek the education. Because every investor has their own different styles. They have their own different preference on what focus they want to have. We have individuals that want to do like precious metals, or some would just focus on real estate. So I would just go out there and get as much information as you can get. I mean, especially in the local area, they can go out and you know, go through different types of seminars and find yourself a niche.
Sure. And I know that you just had a seminar. Do you have another one planned yet?
Yeah, we actually have another one that's coming up on July 13th.
So July 13th. Okay.
And that's going to be at the Hampton Inn Suites in SeaTac on 28th Avenue.
Oh, perfect. And what time is that at for?
It's at 1:30 to 5:30.
Perfect, perfect. And so what day again was that?
July 13th.
July 13th. And can you give everyone, your email address is john@architecturalwealth.
Or info, yeah.
Info at Architectural Wealth. Would you want to give them a phone number so that we could call you and just say, hey, John.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
I need help.
Well, if you guys would like some assistance and or just want to inquire, you can contact me at 206-601-7319.
Oh, I got the 707. Oh, I got the main number. Okay.
Or 206-707-9532.
Perfect. Perfect.
The one that you see on the screen.
Well, thank you so much, John. I hope you have been so wonderful in getting people information, and I want to make sure that when people view this, they're able to give you a call and contact you.
Okay.
Thank you. And John, I'm sorry, thank you. I hope our conversation today has been informative, educational, and inspirational for your life. If you wish to join our show or to help investigate, educate, and disseminate information, please contact us at info@mirsnow.com. And thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.